Luke Rockhold had the potential to be the middleweight GOAT. He was an extremely well-rounded fighter with a perfect physique, a master of wrestling who used his skills to change the dynamic of the fight. A black belt in jiu-jitsu, he had the better of almost anyone on the ground. And when you add to that the striking game Luke developed around his kicks that took advantage of his length, you get a championship caliber fighter. While he did make it to the top and eventually won the Strikeforce and UFC middleweight titles, Luke never lived up to the expectations placed on him. A career marred by too many injuries and a little too much arrogance saw him fall short of true greatness. But when Rockhold showed up, he was a sight to behold. Let's see 3 instances when prime Luke Rockhold was unbeatable. Coming back after losing one of the biggest upsets in UFC history against Michael Bisping in a lengthy layoff, Rockhold needed to prove he is still the top dog at 185. He faced off against the former WSOF middleweight champion David Branch, who at this point was on an 11-fight win streak. Early on, Branch was the aggressor and managed to land some heavy leather on Luke, but Rockhold's chin held up even though he was hurt. Luke quickly found his footing and managed to land some heavy punches of his own before taking Branch down and finishing the round in a strong position. In the second, Luke managed to maintain his range using his kicks. His wrestling prowess was once again on display, and once he took Branch down, he swiftly took his back and punched him into submission.
So Luke Rockhold! Luke Rockhold!
Luke Rockhold's first truly spectacular performance came against Jacky Souza. The Brazilian was the Strikeforce middleweight champion, a terrifying Brazilian jiu-jitsu expert who had notable wins in Japan and Strikeforce. The challenger, Luke, had a much more modest experience with just 9 fights, all of which ended in the first round. In the first, Souza was aggressive in his takedowns, but Luke managed to get back up and started landing a plethora of kicks that got Jacky in trouble.
And another one! Rockhold putting on a show here now!
The fight continued with Luke marching forward, landing combinations and kicks while negating the powerful Brazilian's strength in the clinch. The heavy volume from Luke continued through the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Souza did try to find an answer to the striking of Rockhold, but the volume, precision, and variety were just too much for Jacky.
We're going to the judges' scorecards! Wow!
And the new Strikeforce middleweight world champion, Luke Rockhold!
Rockhold won the decision and the Strikeforce middleweight strap. Rockhold's hallmark performance was his championship effort against Chris Weidman. Both men were at their absolute prime, and the match was hotly anticipated for good reason. The first round was very competitive, and Weidman took the role of the aggressor. After the fighters traded some kicks early on, Weidman managed to take Luke's back and pin him to the cage. But the challenger threatened with a couple of guillotines and ended the round on top. The second round saw the roles reversed, with Rockhold pushing the pace and hurting Weidman with a powerful right hand. Luke continued enforcing his style and gained momentum by punishing Chris with a variety of kicks. Weidman returned strong in the 3rd and took the momentum back from the fading Rockhold. But then the champion made a grave mistake and threw a lazy spinning roundhouse kick that had him end up underneath Rockhold.
And we saw it in the Lyoto Machida fight, and we're seeing him mount the champion here right now.
Weidman ate a ton of punishment that could have made most referees stop the fight. With the path to success figured out, Rockhold took down Weidman again and smashed him with strikes until finally, with 2 minutes left, Herb Dean stepped in and stopped the fight.
Luke Rockhold is the new UFC middleweight champion of the world!
Wow.